Thank you for allowing me to get into your country. So I haven't been out of Denmark for 2 years, so I feel a little bit like a cow getting on the grass for the first time. So if I'm dancing around, it's just because I'm happy for being here, right? Now, I'm going to talk about experience-first networking, and I'm quite pleased about that, because that's been a journey that Juniper has been on for the last 6 or 7 years, maybe slightly longer. And I think it's extremely important for us and for you to look into why we're doing this. So, first of all, for the last 6 years, we have worked very, very hard on getting all our devices to deliver telemetry so we can actually start getting some insight into what are these devices being used for, why are you using it, and how can we make life better. So with that in mind, and with also cloud giving us the ability to start computing a lot more data, we can actually start utilizing some of that to make clever decisions. And that's what experience-first networking is all about. We're all about helping driving the experience for you, who are driving the networks, but also for the users who are using the network. Now, you see here, this is our portfolio. You see a number of terms here. You see cloud-ready data center. You see automated WAN. Data centers is what they're doing where you're hosting all your data. And then we have automated WAN is what most of the telco providers are doing. So these are the solutions that we are having into that space in the market. Now, today, I'm going to talk about the portfolio which we call AI-driven enterprise. That is primarily regarding wireless LAN, LAN, and WAN. And it's all about how can we help drive that end-to-end experience of utilizing it, but also of managing it. So let's look at a few reasons why this is happening. So over the last 4 years, we have been looking at Industry 4.0. So this is a term that we have been looking at, trying to see how we can utilize data to deliver better solutions at a lower price. And not us specifically, but generally speaking into the market. What is happening right now is that we are going towards Industry 5.0. And what that means is that we will see solutions being much more customized in terms of taking the data out and then creating experiences, driving that data into solutions for customers that will make, hopefully, customers much more happy in the future. We're also going to see things driving back into the factories right now. And that's some of the things that you might be seeing here in Estonia as well. Now, you are pretty advanced here in the IT industry. Some of the examples you can see here. You got the outlets, which are quite interesting. What is important here is, when you have these outlets, you need a network. It's the most crucial thing. If the network is down, the outlet is down. You have a bad experience for your customers. So the network is very, very important here. If you're looking at the warehouses that we're seeing right now, because we're all doing online purchases, they're also having less square meters that they can have the warehouses on, which also means that they need to digitize the warehouses much more than they've done in the past. The most important thing here is the network. No network, no connectivity, no things out to us as consumers. How can you customize anything? That's what it's all about. And then, of course, you have built this little delivery truck as well, which is brilliant. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't run on wireless. It runs on 5G, but still, concepts are the same. You need to know how the network is doing. And these things, so Internet of Things, they are not going to call your help desk and say something is wrong. You need something that can tell that something is going wrong here. And that's the network that can do that. That's the important thing. Now, you may recognize this boy from your own life. This could be my boy. It isn't my boy, but I've got 3 boys, 3 teenage boys. And I think I have maybe daily One of them running down the stairs in my house screaming at me, "Dude, I'm lagging." And what will I do then? I will flick on my Netflix and I will say, well, I don't care, dude. I can watch Netflix. The network is up. Everything is great. And he's just, "I'm lagging." And I said, well, what did you do wrong? And he's going to say, well, I was flying out here, I grabbed a Coke, and then at the same time I took a little bit of crisps, and then they killed me. And I was just, okay, what the heck are you talking about? Speak my language. We need someone who can translate the language of the users, the devices, whatever else it is, to a language that we in a support organization can handle, right? I would ask him, well, okay, so which application did you have open? He was just, I don't know, Discord. I would ask him, did you actually reboot your machine yesterday? No, I haven't. Have you updated your antivirus? No, I haven't. And all these things are questions that I would ask him because I've been in IT for 20 years. And he's just looking at me, "You're an idiot, Dad. Make this work. Make my experience better." So you might all have seen this, right? And this is where we are trying to drive a different experience in this market, right? We are focusing on user experiences. So you see here, you've got something called the SLEs, or service level expectations. What kind of service level can you expect, right? When we see these service levels being broken, we will automatically take a snapshot of what happens. What does that do for you? That translation problem you had just before, gone, because I know what happens. How would I ever get my teenage son to replicate his issue? Never, ever, ever. He says, well, I need to eat some more crisp, or I need to go play some football. This is where I do it. I can see it immediately. What is the problem? I can fix the problem. I can do that because I have a modern cloud behind me. This is where I can update my systems, I can run the systems, I can even store data about everything in this modern cloud. This is the reason why I can do things that nobody else can do. On top of that, we have decided that we have so much data on every single connection. Why not use that data and actually get some insight, be a little bit more clever than we were yesterday? Every time someone connects, I'm capturing 150 states of that specific time. And therefore, I know exactly what has happened. I can use that to make my system smarter, make it more clever, but I can also use it in a different way. I can also use it with an AI ops engine. I can use it with a robot, so to speak. And that's what I do. I have a robot which I call Marvis because, or actually my company calls it Marvis. And what that robot does is helping translate difficult questions, right? Now, I, as a person, I'm just a normal person, so I would just type in, Fortnite doesn't work. And then, you know, why doesn't Fortnite work? It will come up and tell me, for whom? Oh, for Denali. Fortnite doesn't work for Denali. Oh, okay, so it's Denali who has a problem. And now I'll go investigate all those states and tell you what is the issue. And I can show it for you. Boom. Done. That shortened my time to fix immensely, which is cost down and experience up, right? Because I can go back to my son now and say, well, now my son is not called Denali, he's called Noah, but still. Let's say it's Denali, my son is Denali. I can go back to him and say, well, this is the reason why it doesn't work, and now I will fix it. I could even say, dear robot, can you fix it for me automatically? So some of those things is what we can do because we have this modern cloud behind us that nobody else have in the industry today. Now, you can ask a lot more sexy questions to this robot if you want to. It is using natural language processing, so just ask in natural language. And our SEs, they have a little bit of joke. So they type in, please tell me jokes, and then it will tell you a joke as well if you need that. It's just if you need a little bit of fun during the day. Now, having said that, this is for your network. Now we need to see how can we drive this end to end. If you're an enterprise, you are connected everywhere, right? So we need to think about how can we drive this outside of just the normal LAN infrastructure. And most of the companies that we have here today, if they're in networking, they have solutions in play for SD-WAN. This is something that we've talked about for the last 6, 7 years. Now, there were some early players starting this out. Someone kind of evolved that to SD-WAN 2.0. 2.0 was kind of taking SD-WAN or WAN and applying security on top of it, right? Applying some kind of insight into what kind of application was running. And then you had SD-WAN 2.0. Full security stack at all locations, some kind of routing, nice, all good. But what we're talking about now is bringing that to the next phase, where we are utilizing the data that we can get from all of the devices, and we are bringing it into our AI engine to look at it from an experience-first perspective. So we have what we call 128T is just a product, but this is the basis of our SD-WAN 3.0. So actually bringing the experience in on the SD-WAN as well. All about experience-first networking. Now, when we talk about SD-WAN experience, you might know this, right? In SD-WAN 2.0, we were talking about establishing tunnels, right? Establishing a tunnel from A to B, and then pouring traffic into that tunnel. It could be traffic from all kinds of different applications we're pouring into that tunnel. Well, the issue with this model is, first of all, you have a headroom. If you're building tunnels, you have a headroom, or you basically add additional compute power need on top of it, because you need to build some IPsec tunnels, right? Now, maybe you did that fully meshed. Maybe you did it hub and spoke, or however else you want to build your stuff. The problem is just that when you do it with a tunnel, it has a higher cost. It has a higher cost in infrastructure. And it also has a slight problem in the fact that it takes time to build an IPsec tunnel. So if something happens with one tunnel, you need to build another tunnel. That gives us issues. Now, what we have done is we've said, okay, that is ineffective. That is not driving experience. That is basically just doing a slightly different way of doing WAN as we did yesterday. So what we're doing instead is we're doing something called secure vector routing, secure smart routing, actually. And what that does is it's tunnel-less. And that's a very, very important part, because the fact that it's tunnel-less means that we have a much lower cost on infrastructure we need at the head end, so at the data center, or at the cloud. And everybody knows if you have a lot of compute power in the cloud, it starts to be costly. So that's one thing. The second thing is that we also have a much, much lower spend of bandwidth. And now, us being from the Nordics, we say, well, bandwidth is not a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. It is still a problem. Even though you can get high capacity here, there are still places where you can't get high capacity. And maybe when you have high capacity, if you have latency, heavy traffic, you will have issues with your bandwidth, right? Now, another situation you can look at here is, in the world today, we're going towards hybrid workforce, right? In the last, 18 months, I haven't been out of the country, which means I've been sitting day in, day out on Teams meetings. Sometimes Zoom, sometimes on 24, sometimes something else, which is very, very fun. But it always starts with, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sorry, I break the connection. Can you hear me now? That's the normal thing that happens, right? Now, that does not work for the future, right? We need to get that experience better than it was yesterday. And this is what we are doing again because of the secure vector routing. We have that ability, no tunnels, no overage, less latency, and therefore we get better experience. On top of that, we are looking at the actual session, which means we can take that session everywhere, right? And that's a very important thing in when we are driving experience. We're measuring the session. We're measuring that application in that session running on that path. We're not looking at how is the tunnel doing? How is the firewall doing? We are looking at the session. How is the session doing? And that's important. Now, security is important here, right? Everybody knows you can't take security and bolt it on afterwards. So within this model that we're talking about here, we have a zero trust model. It's a session that we're looking at. So you always have a source and a destination for that session. So it's me. I'm talking to my Microsoft Azure platform. And source and destination, which means I can secure that session. I can say that session is only available to speak to these two. Ergo, zero trust networking, built in from the get-go. It's not bolted on. It's not some NAC solution we put on top or something like that. It is built in from the get-go because we're doing it on a session level. It also becomes even more important if you look at companies like this Innovit, right? If you actually look at the number of applications running in a power plant today, and maybe also the number of connections you can have out from a power plant today, it's massive, right? But when you can start looking at the actual session for the actual application, then you really can start to set your policies for zero trust networking, which is interesting. Now, in Denmark, we have a little company called Vestas. They do green power, right? They do the windmills, and we're very proud about Vestas. Vestas, they have done for many years, they have built their windmills with telemetry in it. Today, or actually for the last few years, they have had a massive data center in Jutland where they have taken all their data back home through one big pipe from all of the different locations, which means big firewall at all of the locations, lot of bandwidth needed, even though it's only telemetry that they are sending. Now, when you start talking about this secure smart routing, it's much easier for us to go look at the individual application. It's also much easier for a company like Vestas to think, well, how can I make my network? How can I make myself more agile? How can I utilize new storage facilities? How can I route my traffic differently? Because they can actually take it from there, from the individual telemetry interfaces, and get it directly to cloud. They don't have to pour it into one big tunnel, take it back home, and investigate it, and so on and so forth. They can take it directly to cloud. And it can handle the bandwidth needs that these big machines need. And why do they do all this telemetry? They do that because they want to customize the service for their customers, right? They want to make sure that they can build a support model for their customers that has a cost on a per megawatt that they produce. They may even want to sell it off in pieces or whatever else they want to do. They utilize the telemetry they get from these machines to build a much greater solution for their customers, i.e., Industry 4.5.0. So that's what is happening right there. Now, having said that, I talked about cloud before. Now, with our system here as well, it's also helping you getting a much better experience utilizing cloud services. Now, it's a little bit difficult to see here, but it says Microsoft. But it could as well have said Google Cloud. It could have said Oracle Cloud or Amazon Cloud or some local cloud that you have here. Our services run with all of these cloud providers. One of the things that we have seen with legacy SD-WAN solutions, including our own legacy SD-WAN solution, is whenever you get to cloud providers, you might have an issue with the amount of bandwidth that you can transfer into their systems. With this new model, you do not have that any longer. First of all, you're doing it on a session level basis. And secondly, you can pour as much traffic at it as you want to. If you want 10 gigs or whatever gigs you want, bring it on. If you want to have some services or some sessions looking at Azure, great. Others looking at Teams, others looking at 365, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, you have to do all of these things. What you can also see is, in terms of encryption, a lot of this traffic you may not need to encrypt because it may already be encrypted. So why do you want to do an encryption on an encryption? Some of you may say, well, you want to make it more secure. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily get more secure by encrypting encrypted traffic. But of course you can. You do not have to. You're saving bandwidth, you're saving compute power. Last but not least, from a support perspective, it's extremely important that we keep looking at the experience, right? With our systems here, you can actually bring the mean time to repair down with like 30 to 40%, and this is customers telling us that that's what they're seeing. Mean time to repair goes down, which means if you have an issue, you can fix it faster. The fallover time between A and B in the sessions are sub-seconds. It's not multi-seconds or whatever else, which means the voice that you have in your Teams call is not going to fall out. It's going to continue, right? If you have SAP application that's latency intensive, it's going to continue. If you have your little robot car, it's not going to drive into the building. It's actually going to continue down the road because it's falling over automatically. Or if you have these robots that we have, and we're quite proud of those in Denmark as well, they will continue. They are not going to put the print somewhere else. They're actually going to do what they need to do, and you can support that. Now, again, you saw the interface before, but you can see the interface again here. You can see all of it in this little octopus interface. What are the issues that I need to, as an IT administrator, look at today? There are 85. And then you can go down and say, do I have security issues? Oh, they're here. Do I have anything with my gateway? Oh, they're here. Do I have anything with my access points? Oh, they're here. Very, very easy for you as a support agent to figure out where do I need to put my efforts to get the experience for my end user much better. Now, this AI engine has helped Juniper immensely. So if we look at here is the percentage of tickets that have been solved by our AI engine over time. So bear in mind, this one is only measuring 2019 and to now, right? We have done this AI engine since 2016, 15, I think. So it's quite well trained as it is today. And therefore, also, you can see the number of tickets being solved by that system is up to like 75%, or sorry, 70%, right? That is quite significant if you look at the cost of your support desk. So with that, the last slide here, I have said that we're great. I think that we're great, but there are also others that think we're great. If you look at Gartner, they put us in the Gartner leader quadrant for data center. They put us a clear leader of the leaders in wired and wireless access. We're also a leader if we're talking indoor location services, and we're an innovator in WAN edge and also a challenger in network firewalls. So whatever you need, we are ready to support you here. Any questions? No questions. And I'm actually on time. You can actually, if you have any questions and you don't want to ask them here, come upstairs afterwards, and my dear friends sitting over in the corner, they will also demonstrate this for you. And we can, of course, also come and show this working in your own live environment, should you want to. Thank you very much.